pampatay lang talaga siya eh. It's only served pag may lamay, gano'n.
We just had probably one of the most awesome shoots in Kalinga, and obviously if you come to Kalinga by plane like we did, you have to pass through Tuguegarao. Each time we've been up north, people have been telling us you need to go to Tuguegarao to try one particular dish, and I'm sure people already know what I'm talking about, and that's pancit batal patong. So we have a very quick stopover before our flight, grab some food, and then we'll figure out how to cook it in the studio later.
Pancit around the country is always a variation of some kind of noodle stir-fry. Batil patong occupies legendary territory. It's a traditional ibanag dish found across panciterias, enjoyed any time of the day. Every corner of Cagayan serves it at a very affordable price most of the time. Batil means to beat the egg, and patong means to place it on top. The main ingredients vary, but usually miki Tuguegarao noodles, pork broth, carabao beef, accompany sautéed vegetables, and a poached egg. The beating of the egg calls attention to the whisked egg in the bowl of broth it is usually served with.
Let's do this. I like that well idea. So we're gonna crack this, add a bit of our broth. Remember, what was the thing Métis said? He said, kanin is national, ulam is regional, sausawan is personal. And I feel like this kind of works in this way, like where you're kind of like seasoning it yourself. We were talking to the owner Eric, and he was mentioning nowadays, you know, when you look at pancit batil patong in Tuguegarao, the toppings are insane, and I feel like that goes to the same with like arroz caldo, goto, everywhere in the country. People are just adding like deep fried pork belly to everything, chicharron to everything, and really loading things up. And I get it's trendy, it's viral and all that, but you kind of start losing maybe a little bit of the essence of the dish. So I like that he decided to keep his like kind of nice and simple and straightforward. So I'll be able to taste kind of all those ingredients. Kara beef, miki noodles. I get why people like this. The noodles themselves are very different, distinct from other pancits you might try. The flavor is very kind of like straightforward, extremely rich, obviously. It comes together beautifully. Try this broth by itself. Okay, so the cooking broth, that's where all that pepper is carried, that meaty flavor comes in, and I guess that's why people kind of have the preference to either going wet or dry with it. There's no way in hell I'd be able to finish this. This is like such a huge plate. So imagine if you were adding like tons of things on it. Crazy. But this was really the dish that kind of brought me here, because I was looking for it, I was researching it, and it seemed like not a lot of places in Tuguegarao serve it. This is called Sinanta.
Sinanta is a soup dish, has two types of noodles, sotanghon, tsaka yung ladit na tinatawag namin, flat noodles. The base is chicken and clamshells. Actually, ang Sinanta, it's very pampatay lang talaga siya eh. It's only served pag may lamay, gano'n. And it's actually paired with puto or pinakfu. Ang pinaka-base kasi ng Sinanta is it's actually, this one right here. At suwete, ito yung pinaka-base niya. So ginto yung kulay niya.
Now, when I was talking to Eric, he mentioned that this is something that's usually served during funerals or when someone dies. So it's not common to see it served in a restaurant setting. What drew me to it was, one, the mix of sotanghon and kind of like larger flat noodles. So usually this is traditionally made with clams, but since it's not a season for fresh clams, he used some hibe. And I just like that combo of land and sea when it comes to food. Yo, Cagayan, you guys should be talking about your Sinanta more. That is just very clean tasting. Spring onions come through, the garlic comes through. That's such a nice tasting broth. Very heartwarming. So this is kind of closer to a sotanghon, but it has a really distinct flavor. All in all, both great dishes. Both dishes that I think I should try to remake. So I'm gonna polish this off, and I'll see you guys back at the kitchen. So it might be surprising to a lot of people that we actually chose to make Sinanta over, you know, what everyone goes to Tuguegarao for, which is your pancit batil patong. But Sinanta just happens to be an actual very popular dish from the Cagayan region. And I just thought, you know, if we're doing these videos about these kinds of foods, then might as well do things that maybe not a lot of people know about. And talking to the owner of the restaurant that we went to, we realized that it's just one of those dishes apparently that's made when people die. Never a really festive thing. So that's probably why it hasn't really come out much of that region. So based on what we saw him make, based on what resources we did find, this is kind of the recipe that we're gonna go for, and hopefully it does the dish justice. So I'm already cutting some pork out from some bones. And what we're gonna do is just render the fat out of this pork shoulder. A bit of oil and a wok. While that's going, we're gonna build the stock. We have some chicken necks, chicken carcasses. I did realize that in the soup itself, there was a bit of kind of like chicken meat there. And what I'm thinking is, it probably cooks down, and you see how you kind of have like these layers of chicken meat that are attached to the necks and the bones. That's probably what they take out and then they start chopping up. But I want a bit more chicken, so I'm gonna go ahead and just throw in a couple of thighs in there as well. So usually I would do this on a regular stovetop for about an hour and a half, but this is kind of like a cheat, quicker version. So we're gonna add some pork bones as well, some salt, and we're gonna cover with water and pressure cook it for just about 20 to 30 minutes and it should be good to go. So I just cooked it first, that way it's just much easier to cut out. I did realize that there weren't any big chunks of meat, so I think things are really kind of like scrappy in terms of the meats that are used. So I'm just gonna chop it down to kind of mimic that. Our pressure cooker took way longer than expected, but we are finally there. So now you should have this beautiful kind of like chicken bone and pork bone broth. I got my oil here that was from the pork a while ago. That's gonna fry off some red onions. Lots of garlic. You can use some annatto oil or some annatto powder, because yes, the soup here has a nice kind of shade of red, which is pretty cool. To that, I'm gonna add some hibe, which was soaked in water. And I'm gonna add a little bit of that soaking liquid from the hibe. This is really starting to build like really complex flavors. Saute that for a little bit, and then we're gonna start adding our broth. This is the meat I was talking about a while ago. You can kind of fish your chicken out, your pork out, kind of scrape out the meat as it comes off. It should be really tender because it was pressure cooked. While waiting for our clams to basically open up, that's how you know they're ready. This is basically also the basis of our clam broth for the soup. We're gonna go ahead and cook the noodles. So we're using some miki noodles as well as some sotanghong. While waiting for our miki noodles to cook, our clams should be good. I'm gonna add some of that broth into our soup base here. Not all of it, just as much as I need. And then we're gonna go ahead and add in the clams as well. These are fully cooked already. We're gonna put our sotanghong and our miki noodles inside of our bowl. Our noodles are in. Broth goes in now with our clams. The smell right now is crazy. Like, it is so pungent in terms of that seafood flavor because of the hibe that's in there, but it's not unpleasant. And now this mix of two different meats. You got some boiled pork, you've got some shredded chicken, and then we have some fried pork bits as well, pork shoulders, spring onions, personal preference here, some crunchy garlic as well. Again, probably not traditional. Probably a lot of people right now from the Cagayan Valley saying, what is he doing? But the elements of the dish are there. The flavor when I tasted it is similar to what we tasted in that restaurant. And I'm just so happy that we got to do this episode because we were planning to literally just go in and out of Tuguegarao to cover all the Kalinga stories. We're gonna be doing at least 3 documentaries about this beautiful small community in Kalinga called Pasil. The people there really care about their food, about their produce, about their heritage, and about their way of life, which is honestly quite beautiful. There aren't many places in the Philippines that you can go to where you still have traditional houses,
traditional architecture that really mirrors how people live their day-to-day life. It's not a show that they're putting on. They're really fighting to keep their heritage alive, and they're making sure that the next generations keep up the work that they've been doing. So it's actually probably one of the most special things that we've shot this year, and I really hope that you guys all watch it. Let's give it a taste. With noodles like this, miki, sotanghong, they don't really cling on to flavor that much, so you really have to have it with the broth. That combination of clam, chicken, pork broth, plus the meats, plus the hibe is so funky, and it's so layered. And you get tons of texture. And I actually didn't season anything. I seasoned the pork and chicken broth, and I seasoned the clam broth. But I didn't season the final broth, simply because the hibe brings just so much saltiness to the overall dish already. But overall, such great balance. Type of noodle dish that definitely we should be talking more about.